"Sir, your daughter's vertebrae are shattered. She might never walk again." Those words cut through me like a blade, sharper than anything I had ever faced in combat. I stood there, staring at my 19-year-old daughter, Kayla, lying in a hospital bed, her neck braced, her face pale and streaked with tears. I had faced war zones. I had buried teammates. But nothing prepared me for that moment. And all of it, every ounce of her pain, was because of one woman. Cynthia Granger, president of the Ridgepoint Preserve HOA, had created her own pretend police force, complete with mock badges, counterfeit uniforms, marked SUVs, and power she wielded like a weapon. It was her officer, a man named Frank Reynolds, who shattered my daughter's neck while detaining her under a false premise. What none of them realized was that they had just crossed the daughter of a former Navy SEAL who spent 16 years operating in hostile territories and dismantling enemy networks. And now, every ounce of my discipline, intelligence gathering, and strategic skill was going to be directed at them. To the neighbors in Ridgepoint, I was just Cameron, Kayla's dad, the quiet guy who waved during morning jogs or helped unload the occasional moving truck. They didn't know I had served in covert operations I still wasn't legally allowed to talk about. After my wife died of cancer, I left that life behind and focused on raising Kayla, giving her every opportunity one could. She was a kind-hearted soul. She volunteered on weekends, helping elderly neighbors carry groceries and tidy up their yards. I worked part-time as a private security consultant, but most of my focus was on her future. We lived quietly, peacefully, until Cynthia Granger moved in. Within weeks, she had bullied her way onto the HOA board. Within a month, she was president. And then came the uniform, the insignias, the faux police SUV, the citations for things like unsanctioned lawn decorations or aggressive mailbox positioning. She began referring to herself as Officer Granger, though she'd never spent a day in real law enforcement. I ignored the red flags. That was my mistake. Everything changed on a Tuesday afternoon. Kayla had just gotten home from college classes and was helping Mrs. Mallory, an 87-year-old neighbor, unload groceries. She did it every week after the senior shuttle dropped the woman off. I was at work when the call came. A neighbor panicked and screamed into the phone, "Cam, get home. It's Kayla. That woman attacked her." I broke every speed limit. When I got to the street, flashing lights from an ambulance painted the neighborhood in horror. 2 actual police cruisers were present. Neighbors were huddled together in anxious knots. As I pushed through the crowd, I saw Cynthia standing by one of the officers, waving her phone around like it was a badge, dressed not in her mock uniform, but a crisp blouse and designer sunglasses. She looked like she was headed to brunch, not the aftermath of a crime. I found Kayla as paramedics were securing her to a stretcher. Her neck was immobilized. Her hands trembled. "Dad," she whispered, "I can't feel my legs." 5 words that changed everything. Later, Mrs. Mallory described what happened through tears. Cynthia had pulled up in her HOA-marked SUV, dressed in full fake police gear, and demanded to see Kayla's ID and a residential service clearance. Kayla laughed, thinking it was a joke. She said she was just helping Mrs. Mallory with groceries, but Cynthia grew angry, radioed for backup on her toy radio, and insisted Kayla was violating HOA law. Mrs. Mallory tried to intervene. She explained Kayla was invited, but Cynthia refused to de-escalate. When Kayla turned away to carry the last bag inside, Cynthia grabbed her from behind, trying to execute what she probably imagined was a tactical hold. She yanked Kayla off balance, pulling her down with brute force. Kayla's head hit the pavement. There was a loud crack. It was so disturbing that Mrs. Mallory's caregiver came rushing out, thinking someone had fired a gun. At the hospital, the diagnosis was clear: a fractured C4-C5 vertebrae. No one could say if the damage would be permanent. That night, as I sat beside her unconscious body, something shifted inside me. This was no accident. This was assault delivered by a woman hiding behind a fake badge and emboldened by power unchecked. I made my first call. A former SEAL teammate of mine, Marcus, had gone on to become a formidable personal injury attorney. I told him everything. His tone sharpened. "This isn't just assault," he said. "If she was impersonating an officer, that's a felony. If the HOA sanctioned any part of this, you're talking about conspiracy and liability." The next morning, as I was returning from a coffee run, 2 uniformed police officers approached Kayla's hospital room. "Mr. Grant," one of them asked, We've received conflicting reports. MS. Granger claims your daughter was trespassing and became aggressive. She alleges Kayla's fall occurred during a legal citizen's detention. My jaw clenched. She was helping an elderly woman carry groceries. She has witness statements supporting her claim. My gut churned. I pulled out my phone and showed them the footage from Mrs. Mallory's doorbell camera. It clearly showed Cynthia, in full fake uniform, grabbing Kayla from behind and slamming her to the ground. They watched in silence. The older officer finally nodded. We'll need a copy of that. But something felt off. Their hesitation. The carefully worded responses. Someone had gotten to them. That afternoon, a courier delivered a cease and desist letter. It accused Kayla of trespassing and warned us against pursuing legal action. It was signed by Granger, and Granger, Cynthia's husband, Walter Granger, was a practicing attorney. Suddenly, it all made sense. The legal threats, the officer's unease, the forged narrative. This family had constructed a protective bubble around themselves, manipulating everything they touched. They thought I'd back down. They had no idea who they were dealing with. That night, as Kayla slept, I made a series of calls. By midnight, I had assembled a team. Marcus the lawyer, Jackson the PI, Natalia the cyber forensics expert, and 2 other veterans who had settled in nearby communities. We had all the skills necessary to dismantle enemy operations, foreign or domestic. This isn't about Kayla anymore, I told them. Cynthia Granger has been terrorizing people for months, and now she's broken a kid's neck. We're going to take her down. We began with surveillance. Natalia pulled security footage from the entire street. Jackson canvassed the neighborhood, gathering statements from anyone who'd ever had a run-in with Granger's so-called patrol squad. What we uncovered was chilling. Cynthia had built an entire shadow police unit. She'd deputized 5 HOA board members, outfitting them in tactical-looking gear with fake badges, radios, and SUVs labeled Ridgepoint Enforcement Division. They wrote citations, issued curfews, conducted traffic stops, and even maintained a holding room in the HOA clubhouse. People were afraid. A teenage boy had been forced out of his own backyard and told to verify residency. A pregnant woman had been handcuffed while on a walk. Elderly residents tiptoed around their own homes, afraid of being reported. And yet no one spoke out. Because Walter Granger was known for retaliating legally and professionally. Then came a massive red flag. The HOA sent an email announcing a systems upgrade that would erase all security footage older than 7 days. Natalia moved fast. She hacked into the local servers and downloaded everything before the purge. That night, as I reviewed the footage, Natalia handed me something even worse. Cam, this is from the HOA voting archive. The amendment granting Cynthia's unit enforcement authority, it includes your signature. I froze. I'd never signed anything like that. It was a forgery. That was the final straw. We filed emergency injunctions. Marcus reported the forgeries to federal authorities. We built a secure site where residents could submit their stories anonymously. Within days, we received dozens of messages, photos, and videos. Cynthia Granger kicking over flower pots during compliance checks. Her deputies entering homes uninvited. People being harassed, ticketed, followed. One elderly couple uploaded audio of Cynthia berating them for loitering on the sidewalk. Meanwhile, Jackson uncovered that Cynthia had been rejected from 2 different police academies and had been fired from her job as a mall security guard for excessive force. We convened a private meeting at the local library. Nearly 70 residents showed up. A retired judge, who had once kept to himself, stood and said, "What you're describing isn't just misconduct. It's criminal impersonation, document fraud, and assault." Momentum built. A local investigative reporter caught wind and aired a story featuring Kayla's footage, Mrs. Mallory's testimony, and the forged documents. The pressure mounted. Then it broke. The FBI confirmed 20 forged signatures on the HOA amendment. 3 board members resigned. A warrant was issued. Police raided the HOA office in Granger's home. They found a basement mock-up of a holding cell, fake IDs, tactical gear, pepper spray, and replica firearms. Cynthia Granger was arrested for aggravated assault, impersonation of law enforcement, and fraud. Her husband followed soon after for his role in the cover-up and forged documents. HOA funds were frozen. The board was dissolved. A new committee formed, this time made of actual residents. 3 weeks later, Kayla's surgeon delivered the words I didn't dare hope for. We're seeing nerve response. It's early, but promising. Kayla cried when she moved her toes. Neighbors filled her hospital room with cards and flowers. Mrs. Mallory stood at her bedside, whispering, "We should have spoken up sooner. But we're speaking now." Cynthia's conviction came swiftly. 5 years. Her husband disbarred. 4 of her officers faced charges. As for May, didn't need revenge. I needed justice. And we got it. Today, Kayla walks with a cane. Her neck brace is gone. And the woman who thought she could break my daughter? She learned too late that you should never underestimate a Navy SEAL, or the power of a community that finally stands together.